everybody. I'm Barbara and welcome back to my channel Straight Out of Context. If you haven't seen this, the lawsuitinfo.com. This is Justin Baldoni's brand new website that he just launched today. It has where there is a timeline of relevant events. You can click on it or click on the PDF file icon next to it or the brand new, just amended complaint. And thanks to internet sleuths, they noticed that the metadata on some of the files and attachments pertains to the New York Times, and the pieces that they had actually had an earlier date embedded in them than what was originally thought of December 10th. It actually goes back even further to October. So of course his lawyers actually credit the internet sleuths for essentially finding that and having that concrete evidence that the New York Times, at least from what we know, knew even further, which means that they had the article ready to publish and they had the information. The only way they could get that is the same way TMZ works. The only way they could have got that is from Blake Lively herself and her team. But this is the amended complaint. Now, I had the entirety of the documents, the actual filing, in a video. You can pause to read each page. I do that precisely for you to be able to read it yourself. And it went from 179 pages to now I think it's 225. But it's bombshell. Absolutely bombshell. As you can see here, it's 224, not 225 pages now. So that has gone up by 45 pages. That's how many new pages are in this amended filing. And this is the plaintiff, Wayfarer Studios, Jamie Heath, Justin Baldoni, and this is against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Sloan, and we're going to go down because it's oh my goodness, I can't even believe it. I don't want to take up all your time and read all of it, but I am going to do a video of just the filing. So if you want to read the entirety of it or you want to go to this website, you can do so, because Justin Baldoni was nice enough to include this in a website just for you to go. And I wish that he would have included the other ones too, but I have those as well. His $250 million libel lawsuit against the New York Times. But it says, Lively could not tolerate her publicly tainted image for even a moment, and further could not accept that it was entirely of her own making. She needed a scapegoat, and rather than admit and take accountability for her own mishaps, she chose to blame the Wayfarer parties in a malicious and unforgivable public manner. When she and Reynolds could not force Baldoni and Wayfarer to read a statement that she and her representatives prepared, extorting them to take accountability in defense of Lively's actions, she laid in wait for months, preparing to publicly attack Baldoni by falsely claiming that he had harassed her. The same falsified stories she had calculatingly devised and used throughout the production of this film in order to take control were now being used publicly to destroy Baldoni and Wayfarer parties. Lively stole Wayfarer's movie, hijacked Wayfarer's premiere, destroyed the Wayfarer's party's personal and professional reputations and livelihood, and aimed to drive the Wayfarer parties out of business entirely. It further appears that Lively worked for months with an equally powerful New York Times to prepare a false and damaging narrative to deploy against Wayfarer parties. Not surprisingly, Lively prepared an administrative complaint with the Civil Rights Department in California in an attempt to use the litigation privilege to shield her behind-the-scenes conspiracy with the New York Times. But upon information and belief, the CRD complaint was filed only after the Lively party spent months feeding falsehoods to the New York Times, intending that they be disseminated. Hold on, let me scroll back down so I can actually see that. Disseminated to damage the Wayfarer parties. Lively delivered the CRD complaint to the Wayfarer parties over a Christmas holiday, and rather than promptly file a lawsuit, Lively, on information and belief, leaked the typically private CRD complaint to the public, utilizing the New York Times as a conduit for her revenge. That is so powerful. My goodness. Oh my God. I just had to read that part to you guys. I just had to. The Wayfarer parties now have no choice but to fight back, armed with only the truth. Mind blown. But there's a part here that I just want to show you guys really quick, and I won't take up too much of your time because I love you guys and I value your time as much as I value my own. At bottom, this is not a case about celebrities snipping at each other in the press. This is a case about two of the most powerful stars in the world deploying their enormous power to steal an entire film right out of the hands of its director and production studio, which legally bought it and owns it. Then, when Lively and Reynolds' efforts failed to win them the acclaim they believed they so richly deserved, they turned their fury on their chosen scapegoat, tolerating a year and a half of their behavior while remaining polite and professional at every turn, offered Baldoni and Wayfarer no protection. Baldoni and Wayfarer purchase the rights to It Ends With Us. And of course, it goes on to talk about that. And we're going to get down to this little juicy tidbit. Lively even felt comfortable enough to make silly jokes, redirecting a sweet compliment Baldoni gave. It says, "Well played," from Justin Baldoni. The white is Blake Lively, the blue is Justin Baldoni. I feel the same. It's such a good feeling to get work done that we're proud of and to do it together. It just clicks when we find it, and it's just rewarding as filming it or editing it or marketing it or releasing it. This is all storytelling. This is why we do it. Thank you for your collaboration. I'm really proud of what we're doing. He loved, I feel the same. It's such a good feeling to get, of course. So the first message from her, he loved it, meaning like with a heart reaction. He says, "I like sentimental Blake." She goes and says, "Never met her." He says, "I also like a-hole Blake. Don't worry. Okay, good night. I've met her. So have my suppositories. Good night." And then he laughed, reacted to "have my suppositories." This was the nature of their relationship, which made Lively's later allegations all the more baffling. C. Lively begins asserting control almost immediately. She began inserting herself into the production process in intrusive ways, well beyond the scope of her contractual entitlements. For example, Lively began to insist on creative control over her character's wardrobe. While lead actors are sometimes granted approval over their character's general look, they generally do not receive full control over wardrobe decisions without input from the director or producers. What may seem like an innocuous request can in fact have monumental impact on film production because she went so over budget, they lost budget for other characters' wardrobe. Ignoring the director's vision for her character and disposing of the weeks of effort and creativity spent by the wardrobe team on shopping and carefully crafting her wardrobe, Lively sent hundreds of images to the film's costume designer, including into the late hours of the evening, depicting the style of wardrobe she wanted for her character. The costume designer had to reshop Lively's wardrobe, far exceeding the allocated budget and diverting time and resources while also preparing wardrobes for the rest of the cast. I'm just going to say very quickly that's funny because she claims in interviews, and you can feel free to look those up on YouTube, but her interviews promoting It Ends With Us, she talks about how a lot of the pieces came from herself, how she uses Gigi Hadid's sweater and she wears a lot of her husband's shirts and socks, and a lot of like the shoes were her own personal shoes, and she still went over budget, bringing in things from her own closet, essentially using her own real clothes to play this character. What was she playing herself? I don't know. It was She's got very entitled, very expensive taste, apparently, which is beyond me. At one point, Lively insisted that her character had money and could afford $5,000 shoes, despite being a fledgling small business owner, meaning that she was struggling to open up the floral shop in the actual movie. This forced Baldoni to rethink the entire script that had been in the works for well over a year and was approved by both Sony and Wayfarer, a script that Wayfarer had commissioned multiple drafts of and incorporated countless notes, including input from the book's author, Colleen Hoover, who had a very large hand in production and the filming, and her input was everywhere. She's the one who sold the rights to her book to him. The wardrobe budget ballooned because of Lively. And she still brought in all of these pieces and shoes and everything from her own wardrobe, from her husband's, from Gigi Hadid's. Like, how many times is your character changing that you need? I mean, and she still went over budget even with using her own stuff. And she curated this character based on her own personal style, which is making you wonder if she was really trying to be the character or if she was trying to be herself. Lively often refused to participate in wardrobe fittings at the production office, which was a mere 15 minutes from Lively's home. Instead, she insisted that the costume department pack up wardrobe and deliver it to her personal residence. I'm not going to give her a break just because she just had her 4th child. She signed up for the movie. There's that. There's no need to make everybody else's life that much harder. And frankly, she's not that caliber of celebrity or actress that she can make these kinds of demands. Even being married to a more successful actor, you don't get to be that entitled and make those kinds of demands on other people. This is so anti-feminist that it's mind-boggling. I've never in my real life encountered a woman this entitled or this spoiled. And yet her body and looks and personality don't match that. That's what's always funny about people that are so entitled and spoiled, is that they're always the ones that don't deserve to act that way. Like, Angelina Jolie is one of the most beautiful women on the planet, and she doesn't act that way. Like, you can understand it if you're like, oh, you're the most beautiful woman on the planet. You're definitely a 10. You know, oh, well, of course she's going to act like that because she knows she's a 10. But, you know, when you're a solid 6 or a solid 7 and you're acting like a 10, you know, it just throws everybody off. And that's what's wrong with modern feminism, is that all these women think they're 10s in their own head because I feel like a 10. I look like a 10 in my own mind. But that's not reality. That's not the perception of everybody else. And you don't get to go around being so entitled and spoiled that you treat other people like crap. So crazy. This whole thing is just really eye-opening. But I want to scroll down here to some more of the messages. If you can send me the FDX, I'll work when I can steal moments. And yes, of course, please send to Christy. We're all on the same team with the same goal. Great. Also, was working on the rooftop scene today. I really love what you did. It really does help a lot. Makes it so much more fun and interesting. And I would have felt the same way without Ryan and Taylor. You really are a talent across the board. Really excited and grateful to do this together. The thing is with Justin Baldoni is he is so nice. He is like a little puppy, a little cute itty bitty puppy that doesn't want to do anything but love on you and lick on you and just give you all the attention and praise and cuddles. And his problem was that he did not act like a director where he needed to be a director. He's placating her too much and making her feel like she was allowed to overstep her boundaries as just the actress in the film, that she can overstep those boundaries and that she could do the things that she was doing, because he literally is just so kind to her always. He actually, the way that he mentions his wife all the time to her too, it's almost like he's saying, oh, I love you, I've been a fan of yours, it's great, I've been a fan of your husband's, I'm so blessed to work with you, but like, you can ask my wife. Like, it doesn't sound like a man who has a crush on her at all. It sounds like a man who is trying to keep in line his star by keeping her happy, giving her praise and attention. Because sometimes you get that sense that somebody just, certain people, they need that. They need that constant praise and that constant attention and the constant compliments to keep them happy. And it sounds like Justin Baldoni has been doing that with Blake Lively. Like, he's giving her constant compliments and being so sweet to her all the time, because that's what he feels will keep her in line, essentially. Like, you have contractual agreements. You signed on to do this movie. Your job is to play the character and to promote the film. That's it. She says that's very appreciated, and that means a lot. I'm deeply inspired by the film we're going to make outside of the success of this book. We have such an opportunity to not only surprise people who love the book, but reach an even bigger audience by making an undeniably dynamic and also commercial film. The moment that excited me most the other day was when you said, "You're not funny. You are going to kill that rooftop scene." You know it, I'm sure. Even though it was said in a playful self-deprecation that we all participate in, it made me think of the process as a whole. Oh my God, the semantics and the big old salad words. Blech. Please know that I trust on the day you've got me. That speaks a lot right there. The fact that she's trusting him in some of the most intimate and most difficult scenes. Please know I trust it on the day you've got me, and I hope that you trust that I've got you, if you want it. What is that supposed to mean? We're in this together, and we are two of this. I think she means the most determined people I know. We also have very high bars set for ourselves. To collaborate with that type of partner is a gift that neither of us will squander, because we both care too much about the result and also the experience. Who cares about the experience as long as you're producing the movie the way that you're supposed to be producing the movie, right? Sometimes making movies is hard. The experience is crap, but the experience is not going to match what you're visually trying to replicate or produce. And that's sometimes true for filmmaking. Sometimes the experience is very tough, very hard. And it's not about what your perspective and experience is making the film as much as it is getting the film done and filmed. I have no motives except for you to win. As a director, as an actor, as a studio, as a writer, if you win, I win. If you win, our movie wins. We are aligned. And I will bring everything I have to this. Oh, she for sure brought everything she has to this. She brought her best friend. She brought her husband. She brought her false allegations. She brought her BS. She even brought her own shoes and husband's socks. As for Blank and Ryan, and Blank for that matter, I'm the luckiest motherfucker on the planet to have them as my dance moms, level stage moms. They are embarrassingly effusive. She's talking about Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds. That said, they're also my most trusted partners and the people I go to first with anything creative I touch. And I'm the person they each go to first. That reciprocal creativity and support has been one of my life's greatest and most fulfilling gifts. When they loved and signed off on the pages, it felt good to send them to you. They asked what you thought specifically after. They checked it so many times. I told them that you laughed a bunch and said it's probably a blend, but you appreciate my passion so much, which of course didn't feel great for me or them to have my passion be praised instead of any specific contribution, or even just that you didn't like the pages, which was fine also. I can't even tell you how many times the word passion or collaborator or creativity is used, but this is a bunch of nothing word salads. This is what this is. So I think they wanted you and me to see how they felt about the work, because they've been by my side for far too many experiences where I've been overlooked. I spoke to you about this when we first met. That's not his problem. Your past experiences with this filmmaker or that movie is not his issue. The fact that you were overlooked before is also not his issue. It's a manipulation tactic to get your director and producer to be in a position where they're allowing you to do things that you have no business doing. So that way they're avoiding that right there. The complaints of, oh, well, this filmmaker and this director was horrible to me before. This producer was horrible to me before. I was so overlooked. I spoke to you about this when we first met. They watched my hand write scripts because the director is too afraid to send the FDX file, yet he scans and has someone hand type all 120 pages of my pencil rewrites. They've watched me be hired as a writer and paid a significant fee for it, but on the condition that I never ask for credit, which I could give a shit about. It's more the principle of the dynamics at play. They watched the other side of it too, where I'm told at signing on that I'm wanted as a true collaborator. Your job is to be the actor, to play a character. That's it. When there's a script and it says Lily Blooms, that's you. That's your only job and focus. Collaborator. There goes that word again. But once we get to work, I'm really just wanted as a yes man, audience and actor. Both Ryan and Blank have established themselves as absolute titans as writers and storytellers outside of their primary gig. Just singing or acting, or Blank just directing. I'm so lucky to have them as creative barometers, but also to have them as the people who prop me up and make sure I'm seen for all I can and do offer, because they know firsthand all I contribute. They also know I'm not always as good at making sure I'm seen and utilized for fear of threatening egos. So you're saying that a man's not going to utilize you or allow you to do whatever you want and walk all over him because you threaten their ego? Or fear of affecting the ease of the process. Meaning you not getting your way. Well, clearly you not getting your way and you wanting to rewrite this and redirect that and refilm this and have your whole entire own person come in to do the composing and the score of the film, and your own person to come in and do the re-edit is nothing but a big clusterfuck of a mess. And if you can't do it and do it within the parameters of getting it done efficiently and effectively, you're not making it easy. Because even though creativity and filmmaking is important, staying within budget is important. Doing your job is important. Completing your job is important. All of those things are important. And to do so in a time frame is important. It's a whole cast and a whole bunch of people coming together to make a beautiful movie happen. Okay, let's see where I was. Make sure I'm seen and utilized for fear of threatening egos or fear of affecting the ease of the process. They don't give a shit about that. And because of that, everyone listens to them with immense respect and enthusiasm. So I guess I have to stop worrying about people liking me. And here comes the part y'all have already heard about. If you ever get around to watching Game of Thrones, you will appreciate that I'm Khaleesi, and like her, I happen to have a few dragons, for better or worse. But usually for better, because my dragons also protect those I fight for. So really, we all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too, I can promise you. So there you go. That little clip that was straight out of context, I just put the entire context back into place for you with the entirety of this thing. She is emotionally manipulating him into how her prior experiences of being overlooked and being ignored and not being taken seriously as a creative and not being taken seriously as a collaborator, how all of those things affected her before. So she's essentially saying, don't be that person. Let me get my way now. Otherwise, if you don't, I will deploy my dragons. And they fight for what I fight for. And what they fight for, I fight for. I didn't know Blake Lively was the queen and her husband and friend were her little pet dragons. But in her mind, that's what she compares them to. So from her own perspective and experience, she thinks she's above Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds. Because she's the queen bee and they're just the dirty old dungeon dragons over here that she can weaponize whenever she needs to. Difficult proved to be a gross understatement, though Baldoni initially invited Lively to make changes to the script, which was not her job or her place to do. Lively began altering the script daily. The frequency of Lively's revisions alarmed the producers, director, and studio, who anticipated that her interference would persist every day of the shoot and disrupt the carefully planned production schedule. Each shooting day was intricately scheduled long in advance, and Lively's constant changes placed significant stress on the production crew, not to mention financial strain on Wayfarer. Producer, are you listening to this? She's fixing the script. I think blank advice was actually wrong. Blake is now directing the movie. This is bad. Jamie Heath says, I'm listening. Talking through it is better than not seeing what's possible, as long as any decision is done with approval. Producer, not for something that was already intimately planned. This will be every day of the shoot. Jamie Heath says, I know. Jamie Heath is also the other co-founder of Wayfarer Productions with Justin Baldoni. That's why he's named in all these lawsuits. I know. I'm not sure that can be done honestly. At this point, in terms of blank something. In terms of... At this point, in terms of Blake. There was a fold there or something in the paper. It has that repeated twice at this point in terms of blank. Okay. More than a year later, during a red carpet interview at the New York film premiere, Lively stated the iconic rooftop scene. My husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you now. This startling revelation directly contradicted Lively's previous insistence that she had written the scene, and certainly cast Reynolds' high praise for the rewritten scene in a different light. The film's credited screenwriter, when asked about the claim that Reynolds had written the scene, graciously responded, quote, so if I'm being told that Ryan wrote that, then great, how wonderful, unquote. She went on to acknowledge, quote, there were a few little flourishes that I did not write, and if those flourishes came from Ryan, I think that's wonderful, unquote. This was also the first time that Wayfarer parties learned that Reynolds, who had no formal role whatsoever in the film's production, had made unauthorized changes to the script in secret. Baldoni, equally blindsided by this news, which he discovered in real time during a recorded interview with Access Hollywood, reacted by also praising Reynolds so as not to harm Lively. Reynolds, who apparently wrote the scene and possibly others during the WGA strike or the film. Lively's remarks about Reynolds' purported contribution to the script raised eyebrows sky high at Sony, who told Wayfarer that they certainly needed some clarity on public comments made about Ryan Reynolds potentially contributing writing services for the rooftop scene. Sony legal affairs, subject to ends with us. Ryan Reynolds writing issue. We certainly need some clarity on public comments made about Ryan Reynolds potentially contributing writing services for the rooftop scene. Can you provide additional information on this? As there are no contracts, his services are not in the chain, nor his name anywhere in the credits. One of the many media reports which cite this claim made by Blake Lively here. Thanks for clarifying if services were rendered. Obviously, we require signed documentation immediately. Still, during the pre-production phase, Lively and Reynolds raised entirely false allegations of fat shaming against Baldoni, an accusation that, as evidence will show, was categorically false. Baldoni had been introduced to trainer Don, who became Baldoni's personal trainer. By Lively, Don directed Baldoni's preparation for the film role, including his nutrition and exercise, making special accommodation for Baldoni's back injury. Baldoni even paid to receive Don's meal delivery service. And I'm going to end it there for now. My son's in the background playing a video game with his brother. Excuse the noise. But that's at the very end of 29. And then we will get to page 30 of this amended one tomorrow and all the other juicier tidbits because there's just so much. And this is Don, the trainer. Speak later today. I can get you a program for this week. Here you go. The jumps are to be low intensely for this to improve performance. Go 50% intensity for the first few weeks. Let's sub the dead stop rows for the chest supporter. Okay, that's all about his training and stuff like that. And so with that said, I love you all. If you didn't know, my main TikTok is banned, and so I'm fighting that and appealing that. It is a bunch of BS. I'll explain that to you guys later. But as far as this goes, we'll pick up tomorrow. I just want to say goodnight. I love you all. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I will see you all on the flip side. If you want, send me all the love you can. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Stick around. Give me a chance. You might like what I have to say.